Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name's Haas, and this is a bit more SMITE. This time we're checking out the Assault Gamemode, which is the newest game mode in SMITE, and is SMITE's version of all random all mid, which is probably something you're reasonably familiar with, because it's pretty much in every other MOBA by now, I think. SMITE, however, now has a dedicated mode for this, you can queue up for it. I must, however, point out that if you're a European player like me, you might experience some light lag here and there, because currently anyway, there seems to be only North American servers for this Assault game mode, which is a bit of a shame, but this will likely change soon. Of course, SMITE is still just in open beta, so these things are to be expected. Now, if you actually want to play it, I've put a link in the description, you can play it for yourself, it's completely free, you don't have to pay a thing if you want to try it out, and I would highly recommend you do so. Anyway, as you can see here, I've basically bought a lot of sustain items, and this is why. Because you can't go back. You can't go back to the base to heal up, you can't go back to buy items, until something, well, pretty bad happens. So essentially, you have to make sure you can sustain yourself and stay in the lane, so I've bought some health regen items and some mana regen items. Now, one thing I really like about Hi-Rez is that they make completely new maps for every game mode, so far anyway. They could have easily picked the Conquest middle section and made that into its own map, but instead they made a whole new map, which does look pretty nice. It's very Norse themed and towers seem to be trees, so that's a good thing. One thing I would say, however, is that the shadows are a little funky. Now here you can see some of the minions. The minions are corrupted, and again, these are unique to this Assault game mode. Now I'm playing Ra, the Egyptian sun god. I am of course a ranged mage, that is to say I rely on magical power, but more importantly I am a support class, in this case anyway, a support god, and I can make sure my allies don't die. I heal them, so they should, in theory, stay alive. We actually got quite a decent team here. It is of course all random, so you can end up with completely, well, random team compositions. You can have 5 tanks, you can have no tanks at all, you can have full ranged, you can have full melee. Either way, this was pretty lucky on both ends, really. We both got a pretty solid team composition here, and this is actually one of the first matches, if not the first match, I played on this Assault game mode, and coincidentally it is one of the longest matches I've done so far. Normally, in my experience, these Assault matches take between 10 to 15 minutes, again, because you have such completely broken compositions every now and then. One thing I would think would be pretty nice if you could have one veto. So instead of having a completely random, you could re-roll and get a new random god, which should basically even it out a little bit if you have completely broken compositions. Of course, it is a very goofy game mode, so don't try and act as if this is all serious business, because it isn't. It's all random, it's all mid, it's all silly. Now, as far as the compositions go here, we have a Kali, Apollo, and Freya for the damage, we have a Vulcan, which should be tanking quite a bit, and we have me, Ra, which, well, I do a bit of damage, but I'm mostly here for the support. I'm not going to be wrecking in the kills, I'm mostly going to be here to make sure my allies can heal up a bit and get more sustain and stay in lane longer, and in theory, outpush our enemy. Of course, the goal of this game mode is pretty simple, pretty straightforward: break your enemy's structures. There's 2 towers, then a Phoenix and a Minotaur. If the Minotaur falls, much like in Conquest, you lose. Now, abilities-wise, I'm leveling up my first and third ability first and foremost. My first ability is called Celestial Beam. This is a beam of intense light that damages everyone in a line and is my main damage ability. My second ability, which I do get 1 rank of, is called Divine Light, and this stacks debuffs on enemies and slows them. After 3 seconds it detonates and does damage and slows them even more. Plus, if you actually look at Ra while it explodes, if you're an enemy, you're blinded. Your screen goes completely white for a few seconds, which can be pretty nice, but it's mostly there for the slow. Now, my third ability is called Solar Blessing, and this is really the main sustain ability. I just used it here, and as you can see, it is healing up my allies. In addition to doing healing every few seconds, it also buffs their magic and physical outputs, but again, most importantly, it heals them every second. If enemies actually walk into this, it damages them every second, and they get a magic and physical debuff. Now, my ultimate is called Searing Pain, and this one is pretty nice. You can use it to, well, for sniping purposes, but I would pretty much always recommend to use it as AoE damage instead. But again, it can be used as a sniping ability, which I'm about to use here, and as you can see, it can be pretty nice to finish off wounded enemies. It's basically a small but far-reaching beam of light that does a ton of damage to everything in its path. It is really a lot of AoE damage if you can line it up correctly during a fight. By now you might have wondered, that's nice and all, but how do you get back, how do you get new items? And Guanju is about to show you. Guanju is actually going in on me and Vulcan, we are pretty low, Guanju uses his ultimate and I can't escape and die. Death is really the only way to get more items and actually advance. As you can see, I did have 3.2k money here, so this is actually a pretty good timing for me to go back, get a few more items. I'm focusing on regen, as I said earlier, a bit of sustain, a bit of tanky. It is a very chaotic game mode, and obviously tanky items are order, and in chaos you always need some order. Anyway, I'm going in here on Thor. I'm not trying to die here, actually. I'm pretty confident that I can kill him and get away safely, but dying is a very curious thing in Assault. If you are in a situation where most of your enemies are dead and they have no chance of actually pushing towards your towers, it is probably a pretty smart idea if you're very low and have a lot of money to actually suicide into a tower, maybe do a bit of damage on the tower, but this basically allows you to go back and get new items. There is no other way of going back. You can't recall. The recall function is completely, well, it doesn't work in Assault, so you have to die in order to get new items. As I mentioned earlier, this was a pretty long match. We're about 12 minutes in now and we didn't even destroy their first tower. Luckily, they didn't destroy our first tower either, and this is probably due to the fact that we have so much sustain. On our team we have, well, me, who can heal, and on their team they have Guanju, who can heal as well, in addition to being a good tank and having a lot of crowd control. He actually goes in on Vulcan here. I'm trying to help Vulcan with Solar Blessing, but it goes off cooldown too late, and Guanju picks up the kill on Vulcan. Ao Kuang uses his ultimate, I dodged that pretty easily, and Kali is chasing very far. She's actually trying to go get Guanju, I think, but that doesn't really work. The enemy Vulcan and Guanju go back on her. She uses her Aegis, but it doesn't work, and they pick up the kill on Kali. Freya just arrived, uses her Banish, but we can't do much here. Assault is very much a game of ebb and flow, due to the fact that you can't go back, you can't get new items, and you have to die, meaning that once your enemies die and they do get back in time, they're probably stronger than you, because they probably have more items than you. Now I use Celestial Beam here on Ao Kuang. Freya activates the Girdle of Might, giving herself more damage, goes in with her ultimate, Valkyrie's Discretion, doesn't manage to kill Ao Kuang. Thor and Vulcan go in on me. I use Searing Pain and aim it at Ao Kuang, quickly finishing him off. I'm blocked here by Thor, but I should be able to escape here. I use Celestial Beam, I hit Thor. Meanwhile, Freya is being chased by Guanju, but should probably be able to make it out alive. I'm trying to help Apollo here, who's going in on Vulcan and Thor. I use Divine Light in order to slow them. Guanju now arrived. I use Celestial Beam, but don't actually hit anything. Guanju is trying to chase me. I very much doubt he can actually kill me, and I should be able to heal us both up with Solar Blessing just fine. Freya is pretty far out in the lane and is actually trying to fight our enemies. I use Celestial Beam and hit some of them, but Guanju goes in on Freya. He quickly used Divine Light in order to try and slow them, but Guanju already used his ultimate and picks off Freya. Vulcan just arrived, used his ultimate and picks off Guanju with his Afterburner attack. Meanwhile, Apollo is trying to go in on Thor, sadly misses him, and Thor makes it out alive for the moment. I use Solar Blessing in order to heal up Apollo and myself. Famana just used his ultimate. I doubt he can really do much because we're healing pretty rapidly here. He's trying to fight Vulcan a little bit. I spot a very low Thor, pick him off with my ultimate, and that is another kill for us. Freya sadly died though, but we are in a position where we simply have more health and mana than them and outnumber them, so we should be able to push the lane just fine. And pushing the tower is exactly what we're going to do now that Kali arrived as well. Their Vulcan is persistent however, but I try and take down the tower as quickly as I can. I do use Divine Light however in order to slow Vulcan down, and we take both Vulcan and their tower out pretty easily. Now, this is basically what you'll continue doing until you manage to get towards their Phoenix, as you see here. And then the struggle to get their Phoenix down before they actually get back up can start. Now again, it's pretty lucky that we have Ra here in the first place. You can easily get a composition where you have no actual healing at all, which makes this pushing a lot tougher. Sadly though, most of them are coming back alive now and we can't really get their tower, which probably means they're going to kill us. As you can see, Kali falls. Now this is where it gets dangerous. The tide can easily turn at this point, and if we all fall, they could probably easily push our towers, our Phoenix, and maybe even kill our Minotaur. In a position where we're one down like this, we should probably go back, but they're not all up yet, so we're trying to fight them here. We do still have full mana and full health, so we should be able to be fine as long as the 5th player doesn't respawn, which he just did in the background there. Ao Kuang tries to hit me with his ultimate, I dodge that, I try and heal Vulcan a bit up with Solar Blessing. But really, at this point, we should really go back. We can't do much here. I'm trying to slowly move back while supporting our allies, but we're in a pretty bad position here. Thor actually used his ultimate in the distance and he hits Apollo. Meanwhile, I'm losing a lot of health due to Ao Kuang's tornado. Team members are rapidly dying here. Maybe we can kill one of them, but it seems unlikely at this point. Thor actually hits me with his stun. I tried to escape, but Thor finishes me off, and that is us dead. Now, this is a very risky situation. They're going to get 1 tower for free, 2 towers for free, maybe even get the Phoenix for free before we can get back up. And yes, as you can see here, they did manage to get our Phoenix before we were all back up. I respawn, and I heal Kali with Solar Blessing, but at this point all we have left standing is our Minotaur. Now Vamana is going in on Apollo. I try and hit some of them through the wall with Celestial Beam. I'm trying to use Divine Light in order to slow Vamana and Vulcan, maybe in an attempt to actually kill them. Freya comes in from the other end. I do manage to successfully slow them quite a bit. A big team fight breaks out, and we might be able to get a comeback here in order to save ourselves a bit more time, because otherwise we are going to lose this battle. If they kill us at this point, we lose our Minotaur, but luckily we seem to be doing just fine. I hit them with Searing Pain, Apollo comes in with his ultimate, hits them a bit more. They're all very low at this point. I try and slow them with Solar Blessing. We do manage to kill Guanju. We should be able to, yes, we kill Vulcan, and we should be able to kill Thor here, and that we do. Now, at this point, they are pretty much all dead except for Ao Kuang. They do still have a Phoenix though, but it seems unlikely that they can actually survive long enough for us to, well, not win. And after a surprisingly long struggle, we did actually take down their Phoenix. They had a pretty solid defense, but we managed to kill them once more, and now we're going in on their Minotaur, and Minotaurs really last but mere seconds if they're under concentrated fire, and there we go, we win the match. So, thank you guys for watching. My name's been Haas, and this has been a quick look at the all-random, all-MIT game mode called Assault in Smite. It is very goofy, it is not serious at all, it can be incredibly unbalanced, but that is exactly the point of this game mode. It is just a silly, nice bit of variation in addition to the already existing Arena, Conquest, and Domination modes. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time.